Hello, and thank you all for joining us for another installment of Public Works and Infrastructure. I am Lorraine Cochran Johnson. I serve as the chair where I sit along Commissioners Robert Patrick and Commissioner Terry. We do have a very robust agenda today, so we will tarry not. I will immediately go into the agenda items. It does help that we do not have any updates, so we will follow the minutes as presented, the agenda. So the first thing we'll deal with is item number 1847, which is the minutes from our June 21st meeting. Commissioner Terry, as you were present alongside me for that meeting, I would ask at this time whether or not there is a motion from the floor if you have read those minutes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, we good to go. So motion to approve those meeting minutes.
Okay, I will second that motion. All those in favor, show of hands and words.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We will show that those minutes are approved, and it should be noted the abstention of Commissioner Patrick. He was not able to be with us during that particular meeting. So now we will continue right along down minutes to the agenda. And the first item that we have here is item 1624. This item was supported in audit. However, today, during the BOC, we have terminated this particular item. And we are sending it along. So I don't believe that there's anything more that we need to do here. I think.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So I think the item that was terminated or was walked on to be terminated is another contract with CAMKIN, because we are not going to continue doing business with them because of for convenience. So this item, we have a signed affidavit that the CAMKIN portion that caused concern will not be involved. So this item is ready to move forward with an approval as listed.
Now, one question that I have for you, who will, since we've terminated the other contract due to convenience, is the administration and or procurement satisfied that the Renee Group can perform this particular contract independent of the engagement of CAMKIN and
Yes,
or?
ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Are there any questions from any fellow commissioners?
No, just so the agenda item for this one, are we, so we're just deleting the
CAMKIN Consulting?
GC, SD, and C,
Yeah.
Renee Group, CAMKIN. So we're just changing the name on the one.
Commissioner, if I may, Madam
Yes.
Chair, we have received a name change request from RGI on this, and that is to change it to RGI JV1, and that name change is in process.
Gotcha. That's all I had to ask. Thank you.
Okay, and I will go ahead and sound the item. So those who are joining us, this is a change order number 6, annual water and sewer construction. On this particular item, it's an annual contract with 2 options to renew for use by the Department of Watershed Management for primarily providing installation and repair of water and sewer pipes in various sizes. This request seeks to increase the contract funding and term through June 30th of 2023. Of course, this is for ongoing CIP capital improvement. And as it relates to the extension of this contract, we're literally extending it for 1 year. Can I have some conversation as to why? Is this because of an RFP that is currently out but has not been awarded? Why are we doing this extension?
That's correct, Commissioner. We are extending it while we complete the purchasing process. We want to continue or have continuity until then. This is a contract for emergency services that we use to assist Watershed with emergency breaks and sewer repairs around DeKalb.
Madam Chair, I don't know if you saw, but the county attorney did have her hand raised.
Oh, I did not. Attorney Ernst, please feel free to speak.
So Commissioners, I just wanted to make sure that the record was clear. It is my understanding from documents that my office has reviewed that the Renee Group ended its relationship with CamChem and bought out the assets in either late 2017, 2018. There has been an affidavit received from the president of the Renee Group that CamChem is no longer doing any work and has not been doing work for the county. And finally, it is my understanding that Ms. Horner is correct, that the name has been changed so that it will be clear that CamChem is no longer doing any work. So I just wanted to make sure you all had those facts as you considered this contract.
Okay. And I will say, sitting here, and I'll change my hat from that of a commissioner to a layperson, if they bought out the assets of CamChem in 2017, 2018, why now, after the controversy, do you present yourself as being an independent entity when for quite some time we have sent contracts through that clearly stated that they were still in some form of relationship? So in all honesty, that's as disturbing to me as we were in the beginning, because it's very convenient, and I do value our relationship. Let me predicate my statement with all of our contractors and service providers. But I'm just stating my thoughts. Any feelings or any comments from any fellow commissioners that sit on this committee?
Madam Chair, I would just ask, is there an urgency on this one? I know it's been around with us for a minute, but is this something that has to happen right away, or can we wait for these additional documents to come in?
I can almost speak to it, because when I look at the date, we are nearing the end of the existing agreement. So this extends it for 1 year from June 30th, I'm sure is what Mr. Hayes would say. So to a certain respect, there is, but we do have another scheduled PWI meeting between now and that time that would still allow us to take action before the expiration of the contract. Would that be safe to say, Mr. Williams and Mr. Hayes?
Let me check, Director Horner, are we able to extend this? Well, I guess we're working with an extension currently.
The current contracts expire December 31st. I think, and Director Hayes, correct me if I'm wrong, I think probably the difficult part of the situation is getting the funding to proceed with the current work. Is that correct, or have I misunderstood?
That is correct, ma'am.
So,
And the funding runs out nowish,
Next
next week, next month?
right,
Running
because
on
they're
now.
continuing to work. Commissioner Patrick or Madam Chair, I'm trying to think, the documentation that you're speaking of, I mean, notwithstanding Commissioner Cochran-Johnson, the comments that you just made, and we're all disturbed by that, but I didn't hear any request for specific documents. So I want to make sure I'm clear
Whatever the
on-
current name is of the new contractor that the Renee Group is working with, just for clarity, so that,
What is the new name of their joint venture?
right?
The JV one, okay, so whatever.
Who
we
are
have-
the folks that are going to be working on behalf of the taxpayers?
Okay, we can provide that, we can provide that by, I can, most importantly, I can tell you who will not be.
That helps. That gets us, that's in the right direction, but I
And
do
I
think
have that information via a signed affidavit.
is it something that you could get us in time for next week's meeting?
Catherine? I would think so, but Catherine.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do have the amendment where Renee Group changed the name to just Renee Group JV1. And I can certainly send that to y'all probably as you're discussing some other agenda items.
And I have the signed affidavit from RGI, actually in my hand, indicating how they intend to move forward without participants from Canada.
And in terms of, if I may again take control of the meeting, in terms of the buyout of the assets that has been indicated here by the legal department, I would be interested also in seeing that document so that we are able to see the date
Yes, ma'am.
that this new venture and or the severance of the relationship took place. And let me say also, Commissioner Patrick, I hear you, because my question was initially understanding the scope of work and the magnitude, who will be performing the duties of CAM-KIN.
Right.
And we were specifically just told that they are comfortable moving forward, but they did not indicate, unless I stand corrected, that there would be a second party brought into what had previously been a joint venture to complete the work. And is that safe to say, Ms. Horner and Mr. Williams, or am I incorrect in my interpretation of the statement that was given in response to the initial question?
My belief that RGI is going to self-perform the work.
That's what I heard. So Commissioner Patrick, there is no second party to my knowledge based upon the information we've been given at this time that is being added. Commissioner Terry, you have been most delightful and your hands just raised. I know you want to get something out, so I recognize you at this time.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to agree with, I think, what everyone's saying is that if we did have that documentation that the joint venture no longer exists, I think if we are, voting to say that the contract and the funds from the contract for the 20% portion here of the Renee Group, item is, going to this, newly named venture, then I think that covers our bases there. But yeah, certainly agree. If we can get any more documentation that might be available, I will not complain. So other than that, I think I'm good to go.
Understood. And with that being said, what I hear from my fellow commissioners is we will defer this item pending the receipt of additional information and take it up in 2 weeks, or where are we? I don't want to create a motion that isn't what's being presented. So if I'm wrong, I support the will of the committee here, because I do believe we all want to act in order. And Mr. Williams, I do see your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Another option would be we move a motion to move forward with GS Construction, SD&C Inc. Those two, and the other pending information. If we're able to do that, because I believe there's 2 vendors where there is no concern, and the third where there is concern, we will be able to provide the information.
Okay, so there's 2 vendors, just for the sake of clarity, because sometimes I multitask. I'm hearing you say that based on the, proposals that were received, there's 2 vendors, and we can view those in the packet that pose no question. But again, at this point, we're saying we're moving forward with, due to the receipt of documents with the Renee Group that was initially a joint venture with CAM-KIN.
Or we can hold that in committee separate, whatever.
Madam Chair, if it would help, I would be comfortable either calling out the other 2 contractors, GS Construction or SD&C, or approve this agenda item pending additional documentation regarding Renee Group. And that would still advance it and they can get it to us in time for our next meeting if the committee is comfortable with that idea.
By
Okay,
this Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
okay. So in that case, we have a proper motion to approve pending the receipt of additional information. So at this time, I call that to a vote. All those in favor, show of hands and words.
Aye.
Okay. Let the record reflect that the motion has passed to approve this item in committee by a vote of two. Move it forward to the actual body pending the receipt of additional information. And I will be shown as an abstention on this particular item. Okay, so the next order of business that I have here in queue, if my magic ball is right, is item number 1341, which is a change order to contract 1240831 for consent decree, proactive and reactive assessment and cleaning for gravity sewer lines, multi-year contract with one option to renew for use by the Department of Watershed Management. This contract consists of primarily providing sanitary sewer assessments that include gravity sewer pipes with diameters of 8 inches to 36 inches, tiered assessments of 8 inches to 18, and for pipes larger than 18 inches. Request is to add new scope of work and increase the existing scope of work funding. And on 1341, let me refer to my notes. This has completed audit and it has been approved. And again, what we're doing here with this change order, we are adding a new scope of work as well as increasing the existing scope of work. And to that, of course, this is ongoing capital improvement, but I would ask at this time, Mr. Hayes, the new scope of work that's being added, can you share that with everyone who's joined us today?
Yes, Madam Chair. The new scope of work. So what this is requesting $5.6 million to add to the MME contract. We're asking that because this was a contract that was given to multiple companies. One of the companies did not perform and has placed us substantially behind schedule. We have removed the work from this one company, and we are asking that the company who did perform well be given an increase of funds and time to take on the work that the failing company did not perform. So that is the change of scope, adding additional work to the company that did perform.
Understood. And to my fellow commissioners, do you all have any questions concerning this change of scope and the addition of additional work to be performed?
I just had one request if just by email, Director Hayes could just share with us what what the issue was with the previous company that sort of didn't do the work, or just like try to keep tabs on everybody for everything. But other than that, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner, I will provide that. Some of it is explained in the packet, but I will provide that email to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, this particular item has done its due diligence. For any of those who are new to PWI, we have a standing requirement that any item that is 5 million or more automatically undergo audit. In the audit process, we have found everything from inconsistencies in bidding to data and numerical issues with tabulations that can be simple, but still result in a savings to the people. So with that said, I take no issue with the item as it has been supported in audit. And there are no questions from fellow commissioners as to the scope of work. So with that said, I would ask whether or not there is a motion from the floor related to this item.
Madam Chair, I do have one question for clarification. The contract extension is through December 31st of 2025.
Let's see.
I believe it's 2026. I think that's what it is.
I'm looking in my magic ball. And I don't see, I would have to defer to Mr. Hayes to verify.
2025. December 31st, 2025.
That's what's on the second page of this agenda item. I just want to make sure that's the date we're looking for.
It is, yes.
That is, yeah, that's what I'm showing as the
January
expiration date.
2025. You're correct.
Mhm.
Madam Chair, like to make a motion to approve 1341.
Second.
I have a proper motion. Second, all those in favor of approval of 1341, show of hands and words.
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect we have unanimously approved item 1341. The next item that we will take up is item number 1593. And this particular item is a low bid invitation for on-call mechanical, electrical, and instrumentation and controls maintenance services for Scott Candler, Pole Bridge, and Snapfinger wastewater treatment plants. 3-year, multi-year contract for use, of course, by the Department of Watershed Management. Recommended award to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which is River to Tap Inc. and Tesco Controls Inc. Contract not to exceed $29,482,500. This item has successfully gone through audit and has been supported. I will allow at this time, Mr. Hayes, to give any commentary on it.
Yes, Madam Chair. The on-call electrical instrumentation control and maintenance service contract is a contract to support the water and wastewater plants in their daily maintenance of their equipment around the facilities. Support meaning that we don't have the staff, and this contract will assist the staff with breaks, repairs, and maintenance, preventive maintenance.
And again, oftentimes as it relates to parts, we have some challenges because of the age that are associated with some of the mechanical and electrical instrumentation and controls. But again, I find and take no issue with this particular item. So at this point, oh, Commissioner Terry, I do apologize. Go right ahead. I see your hand is raised.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question because on the bid tabulation sheet, we didn't have anything for electrical or underground utilities. So I think, is that just because we didn't need it for this particular one and it was just a template or something?
I believe so, but I will allow Mr. Hayes to respectfully respond because he would have the knowledge to do so.
Mr. Commissioner, I don't have the answer to that question. I would refer to Chief Procurement Officer Horner if she has that information.
Because literally this is confined, it's confined, Commissioner Terry, to Scott Candler, Pole Bridge, and Snapfinger wastewater treatment plants. So I do believe what you're seeing there would be here, and now I'm looking as a more generic form because that service wouldn't be needed at these particular plants. That's why it's there, but there's no language, there's no numbers, because it is not a part of the services to be rendered when you read through this particular bid. But again, I'm going to defer to anyone else here who may have more knowledge than myself to feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in my hypothesis.
So Commissioner, I'll gather that information and I will provide it to you.
Okay,
Question
yeah.
is, why is there no tabulation for electrical?
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. We can get that later. That's fine. Yeah, just I think, like just in the course of looking at the bid tabulation sheets, we have three different sort of, I think, clearly more competitive bids for the instrument and control portion, but only one bidder for the mechanical. And so I just wasn't sure if electrical might be separate, or it's just like you said, Madam Chair, it's not required in this particular contract. But trying to remember, I think I've zoned out for a minute. Did you see that the audit department looked at it?
They did, and they have supported.
Okay,
They
good.
did.
All right.
They did support it as it has been presented for the scope of work and the costs that are associated with the materials that are within the packet.
Thank you.
Madam,
Maybe O'Hare has her hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Ms. Horner, please go right ahead.
That's okay. Thank you so much, Commissioner. We did not receive bids for the electrical, and PNC is going to be resoliciting for that.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
and, Madam Chair, may I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely. But Ms. Horner, when we do a resolicit, will that come to us as a change order to this contract? Or as
No, ma'am.
Okay.
It will come out as a separate procurement.
Okay. Thank you for that confirmation. And Commissioner Patrick, please feel free to go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Catherine, just want to confirm, so the electrical component is not sort of critical to everything else moving forward? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, we don't have anyone to award it to, so yes, we would need the rest of this to move forward.
Gotcha. So this will basically get approved, but will be on hold until this other component is taken care of?
No, we'll go ahead and get the contracts executed and issue the notice to proceed, and they'll be good to go. And then we'll just issue a new solicitation for electrical.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, thank you. I appreciate the question. So we have clarity. So
Maybe just to mention one thing, just for the good of the whole, the market survey attachment did suggest that a company, R.S. Andrews, said they would pass on the opportunity because they don't have after-hour services for electrical, which probably is an important part of the contract, probably for emergency purposes. So I guess just kind of curious. That was only one company, but were they the only ones that were going to apply for the electrical portion of this?
It's my understanding it is. They were the only ones who actually attended the pre-bid meeting, the mandatory LSBE meeting. So this is going to take some more market research with assistance of the user department to actually locate additional potential bidders.
Gotcha. Okay, so for the electrical portion of it, we want to rebid that one and just put a little extra effort, not extra effort, but just more intensity into getting more potential vendors, because only one was interested.
That is correct. And what we will do is we will work with the Department of Watershed Management and see if potentially we need to have any changes to the scope of work to open up the competition and also locate additional bidders.
Great, thank you. I'll make a motion if that's appropriate.
absolutely go right ahead, Commissioner.
All right, I'll move to recommend approval for item 1593.
Second.
That's right.
Got a proper move and second on 1593. All those in favor, show of hands and words.
Aye.
Okay. Let the record show that we have a unanimous approval of 1593. We're now up to item number 1697, which was previously heard in committee. It was also approved in committee. And this is, of course, for going to my notes. Aesthetic improvements for Glenwood Road, Covington Highway, and Red Wing Circle bridges over Interstate 285. Approval was given by committee, but it's my understanding there was a change in price by GDOT. Of course, this is in the amount of $525,000, and it will come from SPLOST. And this is for upgrades to the bridge paraphase. So we pull the item, but it is now my understanding, and now I'm going to come back in case anyone has a hand raised, that GDOT will be actually covering the additional cost, and we'll move this item forward with a substitute for the original amount in the amount of $525,000. Is that correct, or am I mistaken? And if so, please correct me so that I know where we are with this item.
That's correct. The total cost went up to $762,000, and GDOT has come back and said they will cover the difference, the other $241,000.
Wow.
So there's nothing that needs to be changed on the item.
Okay, so in that case, we are not forwarding a substitute. We're moving forward with the original item. Is that correct, Mr. Pelton?
Yes.
Okay. In that event, thanks to GDOT, Commissioner Terry, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great news about GDOT covering the increase. Thank you, whoever called them. We value our relationship with GDOT very much so. So good effort there, everyone. Because that was a big price increase for some fencing, but good to hear it. And so I guess in this old document, it says the anticipated completion is December 2024. But aren't they I thought that they were doing those two bridges like right now. So is it really going to take another year and a half for the fencing?
Yeah, I'm not sure what their official closing date on the project is, but yeah, you're correct. They're pretty far along on all three of those bridges. So I know there's some urgency on their part to get this approved so they could make the necessary changes to the design.
All right, thank you.
Any further questions? And I will say, Commissioner Terry, that along Flat Shoals Parkway in 285, there was the bridge that took, I won't call it to nowhere, but it was bridge to eternity. It took several years for the upgrades there. So we will move forward with what we show as being the date of completion. And I certainly hope that, it's always better to complete ahead of time if possible, but perhaps they are asking for longer than they need. But I won't challenge the completion date that's listed within the actual agenda item. So with that being said, we will take no action on 1697. We will allow it to move forward. And if I'm incorrect in that, being as how we've already put it to a vote and it's been approved, then correct me at this time. And if not, we'll move forward to the next item. Okay, seeing no correction, we will continue down. And now we're up to our new agenda items. First item being 1784, reimburse Georgia Power for relocation of overhead lines for construction of sidewalks on McAfee Road. On this particular item, 1784, it is a $150,000 reimbursement, and this will come from SPLOST funds. And it's a standard relocation. We've been waiting for some time for the installation of sidewalks there. So now that we have relocated these overhead lines, we should be in a position to move forward. So that being said, is there any questions about the relocation of these lines and the dollar amount that's specified from fellow committee members? This is pretty straightforward.
Again, Madam Chair, just to be clear, you did say $150,000?
That's what I show according to my notes, correct?
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, well, if not, I would certainly entertain a motion from the floor on this item.
I'll move to recommend approval for item 1784.
Second?
Okay, and all those in approval, show of hands and words, aye.
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect, we have unanimously approved item number 1784. And now we are up to a low bid, item 1664 for steel plates. This is a 3-year, multi-year contract for use by Public Works, Roads and Drainage and the Department of Watershed Management for steel plates for highway projects and various road repairs. Recommended award to sole bidder who is responsive and responsible, LK Transport Expedited, not to exceed $440,000. Let me go to my notes. One question I have now, just for the sake of those who are joining us who may not read in depth the package, there is a division because this is amongst 2 departments. I'm showing Roads and Drainage as being responsible for $140,000 and Department of Watershed Management is responsible for $300,000 of these funds. Now, one question that I have for you all as it relates to this particular item, are these also the plates, the metal plates that are being used on our highways to cover potholes and such?
Commissioner?
Yes, Miss Allen. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. Well, we won't call it covering potholes because we don't typically need to use plates for that, but these are the plates that we put on the roadways and highways to cover either a stormwater infrastructure or our watershed infrastructure, and typically any failures in the roadway. If there's a cave-in of sorts, something that will cause damage, we use these plates to cover any of those type issues until we can do a formal complete repair.
Understood. And we're on the, thank you for the correction of terms, because these are generally brought out when it's more major work.
Yes,
not
ma'am.
just the general pothole. But one of the questions that I've received from community, Miss Allen, as it relates to those covers, metal covers, and the safety, because throughout the county, you will, from time to time encounter these covers, metal covers. And in some instances, you see a striping that is reflective, that's more of an orange. And are we requiring our contractors to place those on all plates that are installed or not? Because I want to be consistent in my response to the community when they pose these questions to me, because they raise them as a matter of safety. So can you speak to that, Ms. Director Allen?
Commissioner, no, at this point, there is no requirement to put those plates. I mean, those actually, those are stabilizers that happen to be of an orange color. Typically, for time purposes, if we have a minor, a minor obstruction that we need to cover, typically we cover it with the steel plates, and we use asphalt, or we use the spikes to actually hold those plates in place. I do know what you're talking about. Those are another form of stabilizers that run along the entire length of the plate that does the same thing that spikes and asphalt do. You usually see those with deep trenches where there's, really a deep hole at the bottom of the plate. But currently at this time, there's no requirement to use that specific cover, stabilizer.
Stabilizers, okay. And this is good because, you know, one thing I find, people don't always understand what they see. So they come to us because they have the belief, and Commissioner Terry, I'm going to go ahead and engage you right now to answer your question, that these stabilizers that you call them are in some way inherently tied to safety and is an omission when they're not seeing them. So I think we all need to do some education there to the public, if that is what I'm hearing and understanding. And Commissioner Terry, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as I see in the bid sort of, I guess, tabulation, there's all different sizes of steel plates, and clearly the ones that are larger cost more. So it seems to me that, you know, this bid is pretty straightforward. Steel costs X number of dollars per square foot, and installing it is important in a timely manner. So I guess my only, maybe more kind of like a policy question for us to consider. Oh, I'm hearing some feedback. Did y'all hear that? Is that me? I hear Peggy. I think I hear Peggy feedbacking. So, you know, I think we discussed this last year about like when like a natural gas contractor puts a plate down and then maybe they leave it there for a few months and then they call us and say, why'd you leave your plate? You know, so a citizen says, why are your plates still out? And I remember last year we discussed there being like, I think it's City Works, in essence, keeps track of where all of the plates that we're responsible for getting in the ground. So I assume that's also kind of part and parcel with the contractor's responsibility. Does this contractor come and remove the plate when it's done, or is that up to the user departments to take those steel plates and, you know, in essence, hold on to them for some point down the, you know, in the future?
Commissioner, I think Mr. Pelton is on the line as well. He kind of works with our contractors, but you know, it does occur sometimes that the county watershed or roads and drainage may end up picking up a plate that has been placed down by someone else, or occasionally someone else will pick up a plate that's been placed down by the county. But I will let Mr. Pelton respond to what he requires of the outside companies.
Thank you. And Mr. Pelton, please feel free to go right ahead.
So at the moment, we're not part of City Works. I know that's something that we want to be added in and have our utility permitting done through that, so we could better track the work that contractors are doing out there. Right now, we don't have a requirement for stabilizers, like was discussed, and we would have to see what GDOT's requirements are in that regard, because I know in the past we've been told we cannot be more restrictive than GDOT. So that's something that we can check out.
And Madam Chair, just to follow up, I know, this is kind of like, it's potholes, but it's not potholes, but it's like the same thing. It's kind of like what I get in the most emails about, potholes, steel plates, orange cone with a birthday for being out there for 12 months. People love making jokes like that. But I think that a couple things I'll just throw out there is, one, I think we definitely need to get the other contractors that do work, in DeKalb County that aren't us on some sort of platform that we can, in essence, just go back and verify the work was done correctly. I remember communicating with Mr. Pelton this time last year. There was a natural gas leak and there was like a brief fire, I think, on Ponce. And, 3 months later, after a steel plate had existed there, the contractor finally came out, repaired 2 sections of Ponce. But to this day, that repair is basically a pothole now. You can just tell they didn't quite do the right amount of aggregate. Maybe they used a different type of stone. They need more crushed gravel, who knows, but it wasn't done appropriately. And so of course I'm going to be emailing Director Allen, can we go out there and fix the mistake that their contractor, just didn't do the job good? And so I think that's something just so we just know that's not ours, but we have a way to monitor a steel plate that's existed out there for months and months with no action. And I don't know what our legal ability is to enforce those kind of more timely repairs, but I think just having some system to keep track of it, so we know that there's no 1-year birthdays for steel plates or whatever it might be, that it's not ours, or vice versa. We know how to, in essence, kind of follow up so that it doesn't go on too long.
Understood. And Commissioner Terry, I want us to hold here because I have a question for Ms. Allen. And I see that COO Williams has shown himself, so I'm assuming he wants to make a comment.
Yeah.
But Ms. Director Allen, I would ask, being as how City Works tracks the metal plates, do we not have a system currently in place in the county for us that tells us where these metal plates are located?
Commissioner, I'm going to yield to Director Hayes on this one.
Okay.
Watershed is completely operational in City Works, and Roads and Drainage is just coming on board. So I'll let him, I'll yield to him to respond to what we're doing currently.
Understood. So Mr. Pelton, I believe there was a deferral to you as it relates to City Works and their tracking and whether or not, because maybe that's half the problem if we're not tracking. Mr. Hayes, is it you who have the answer here?
Sure, Madam Chair, yes. It is tracked in Watershed City Works, and unfortunately right now Watershed, we're the primary users of City Work, and we are working with other user departments to get them to speed, get them the rights and access to it. But in Watershed's City Works, we do place metal plates out with a work order, and then there are work orders that are associated with the removal of those metal plates.
Okay.
And are those done
that's
through
yes,
this
you know.
contract?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Terry.
Well, just on that point, Madam Chair, are those done through the contractor? You said our Watershed Department currently does the steel plates, and this contract will replace that.
Commissioner, it's for Watershed. Unfortunately, we do not monitor contractors at this time.
I see. Okay, so this contract would replace Watershed Department staff from doing the metal plates. I say printer vendor replace.
Yes.
Commissioner, no, this contract is just to supply the plates themselves.
Okay, but Director Hayes was saying Watershed does the metal plates now. So is this contract replacing in-house metal plate placement, I guess?
That's what I'm understanding at $440,000. So Mr. Hayes, with this award to LK Transport, are we not now turning over the placement of steel plates, or will Watershed continue to play a role?
Watershed will continue to play a role. This will allow will provide Watershed plates to place on the highways and the roadways.
And the tracking will still be done through City Works, Mr. Hayes?
Yes, Madam Chair. Watershed, as we place the plates out for Watershed projects, we track it through City Works.
Okay. You know, I absolutely love data, and I absolutely love what we've done with SPLOST as it relates to our project map, so that you can visit at any time and you have the clear ability to see. Using our wonderful color coding, green has been completed, yellow is in progress, red is approved but not yet begun. And that removes the conversation from me to a more empirical base for people that reach out. And it would be a really great thing, Mr. Hayes, if, and you know, but I think if once certain things are implemented in the county, it will not be difficult to upkeep them. It's just a matter of following a process. Because at this time, I'm sure if you look it in your magic ball, I'm not sure you could look at it at this moment, you could say to me that there are 230 or 50 metal plates that are currently out in CityWorks system. However, it would be a great thing to have somewhere, whether it's Department of Watershed Management, but most people are going to equate this with roads and drainage, a satellite that shows by a dot where those metal plates are. And it would be as simple as sending over to and creating the map through Mr. Greer and using GIS. All he needs is the locations, and immediately once they're plugged in, we would have a geographic map that would show us everywhere that they are. And I would think honestly, and maybe I'm wrong, but my thought is as soon as a metal plate is placed, it ought to be positioned on that map. And that would also allow for the tracking of the days of which it's been in the field, serving its course. And when it's gone, it goes away. And that's just my initial thought for the sake of accountability, so that people know. Because I get too many calls from folk complaining about these metal plates. And I say to them, well, the plate ain't going anywhere until the work is done. But it would be great if we as commissioners had that ability to see where they're placed. And that's my thought. And I know I do not speak for the body. But I believe I saw Commissioner Patrick first and then Commissioner Terry. So you gentlemen go right ahead.
Okay. And I know this question is probably not going to be appreciated, but I'm going to ask it anyway. We had this discussion last year and I didn't ask this question. If we just took that $440,000 and put that into more of a rapid reaction force of staff that were just available, hey, it's there and it's fixed after the work is done, is that feasible? Could we just put that money into making sure that we have crews on 24-hour standby and not have to worry about metal plates to begin with?
I see the hand of Mr. Hayes and the face of Mr. Williams. So we'll go with the hand followed by the face.
Start with David. I want
to. If I don't ask that question, I feel like I'm,
Sure.
It's the simple question in all of this discussion.
So Commissioner, oftentimes these plates are put over a site because the work has not been completed. There's sometimes when the repairs have been completed, but it's not conducive, meaning the conditions are not right to do a full repair, restoration of the area. That could be rain, that could be more material needing to be brought in.
waiting on materials is a big thing.
Mm-hmm. And
Okay.
then there is also the concern with asphalt, getting asphalt in. And that's one of the issues and concerns that we've brought to PWI in the past. Asphalt contracts to come in to pave areas. We oftentimes have a backlog of that because the vendors are busy.
Mm-hmm.
We can't pull them from one area to another.
Understood. Okay. I had to ask the question. So
Understood. And my question would be more along the lines, because anytime we bring in external contractors, for the most part, generally, if we were able to manage in-house, I often feel that in some instances, not all, but most, we would materialize a savings. So my question would be more along the lines of, would it be more conducive to bring on a full-time person or two and allow us to manage the work? Because I'm always looking for ways to cut the fat from government operations. But Mr. Hayes, I won't even ask you to respond. If we're putting this RFP out, I would believe that we've run the numbers to determine what's in the best interest of the county and the taxpayer. But if I'm wrong and there's a possibility to bring it in-house, then I would ask that we do that and just hire the personnel that we are managing, as opposed to including an external source. And Mr. Williams, I still see you showing your face. Is there a reason? Is it anything that you wish to say?
Well, I'm just really, I guess, to co-sign the whole conversation, and the question, maybe to piggyback on Commissioner Patrick's question, it's if we were able to manage the plates better, would we be able to get the resources out to get them fixed faster? You know, it may not be, you know, an all or nothing, but the question really becomes, are we able to, just one second. Are we able to, you know, send out our resources to fix things, you know, that are waiting? So a few years ago, we did hire someone to work in transportation planning, and it was mainly to inspect for utilities. So maybe we need to revisit that, you know, and ensure that there's a comprehensive database. You know, when people are able to cut, they have to get a permit or go through a process. But I just don't think we manage that as well as we probably should. That's how you get the 1-year anniversary on some of the plates.
Understood, and that's why I want us to really think. And Commissioner Terry, let us bring you on into the conversation.
Well, I was going to first off start off by saying that we have all of these emojis that we can use that Matowski has given us access to as panelists. And so I was looking for the right Bitmoji for Zach's face, and I think that's it right there. A little Zoom fun for 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I think I'll have to I think I made a mistake because I thought this contract was supplying the plates and installing them. This contract is just to supply the plates, not install them. And then it's up to the user departments to install them. Did I get that right?
I think it's both.
That's,
No, get us straight, Director.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. It's just for supplying the actual plates.
Okay.
Oh, just applying them. Okay, all right. Okay, good. Sorry. So then my big question is, what happens? So once a plate's been used, what happens to it after it's no longer needed? Does it go to a secret, not a secret, but a special recycling place where they do something special to the plate and then it can be used as roadworthy? You know, like how often can you recycle them, I guess? I'm trying to save money here, y'all.
I believe the metal plates are just taken up until they're needed again, Miss Allen. Would that not be correct?
That's correct, Commissioner. We take them to a special secret hiding place.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
and hold them. However, one of the reasons we need to buy plates is because, believe it or not, things like plates and lids, they grow legs and walk. So we have to replace them. So they don't get damaged very much, but we do have to kind of rotate new stock in because they do kind of walk.
Go to that big pothole in the sky.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that my only comment, I think, you know, I'm good to move forward because it's not the lay steel plates, but like, you know, just some sort of like after like, you know, I'm gonna go with Attorney Phillips, you know, what's a good window of time? 180 days. If a steel plate has been out there for 180 days, you know, something should go off that's like, why is it 180 days? For us internal, I think. And then I do think that Transportation Department, if it does get fully integrated on City Works, that all those utility contractors and private parties that have to do all these cuts, like I feel like that's a big chunk of the complaints is it's not necessarily watershed or erosion drainage. Because what I'm hearing is there is a system to, you know, keep things moving, but the average consumer wouldn't necessarily know that. They'll just know they're driving over a steel plate for the 5th week in a row or something like that. I think that would just go a long ways in just, you know, cutting back on an email that we probably get the most. I hate that we're spending so much time on it, but you know, it's one of those things you just always see. And, you know, when it works, no one complains. When it doesn't work, people are going to, you know, 15 people are going to email about the same darn plate. You know what I'm saying? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the discussion because we get these emails. And in all honesty, I do believe that if we would just supply Mr. Hayes to Mr. Greer, he could very easily create a heat map that would outline where these metal plates are. And for tracking purposes, there's no ambiguity as to where they are. But I would only assume that in the most extreme case, where there is an inability to procure materials, or I'll just say materials, that we should not have these metal plates out there for extended periods of time. And, with that said, I can't solve the problems. That's what you all are paid the big bucks for. I'm part-time. I would ask that, you consider that and have a conversation with the administration on creating a mapping system of these metal plates that allows for the tracking of the period of time, and report to us when you have, situations, extenuating and mitigating circumstances that require them to be in the field for extended periods of time. And I would just define an extended period of time as honestly 60 days or more. That's to me an extended period of time, but I do engage my fellow commissioners on what they consider to be an extended period, as a general rule.
Especially if the plates moves. That's what you want.
Yeah, if we moved them quicker, maybe they wouldn't get legs, Director Allen. If we moved them quick enough, they wouldn't
Point
grow
taken.
legs and run off. So,
Point taken.
with that said, I appreciate all that you all do on item 1664. Is there a motion from the floor?
Madam Chair, I think we've got this topic covered, so I'd like to make a motion to approve 1664.
We have literally covered this topic.
Yep.
No pun
more-
intended.
second,
And
One more
I'll take-
legs.
that is, we have a second. All those in favor of approval, show of hands and words. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have approved the purchase of the metal plates. And let's see what else we have time for. Now, in lieu of time, because we still have quite a ways to go here, I'm going to ask if there are any items on this agenda that are time sensitive, I'll say, rather than must be heard during this meeting. So Ms. Horner, as I take the next item, I'm going to circle back to you to hear whether there are items that we need to deal with during this meeting. So the next item that I have is item 1756. It is a low bid for Pleasantdale Road traffic signal for use by Public Works and Transportation for the installation of traffic signal at Pleasantdale Road at the existing entrance to Pleasantdale Elementary School and Pleasantdale Park, to include some roadway striping and minor sidewalk work, not to exceed $179,722.10. In all honesty, this is very straightforward. I have no questions, but I'll yield to my fellow committee members for any that they may have. Of course, this is an elementary school. We want to provide safe entry, exit, ingress, egress. So I have absolutely no questions here. I'd like to see this work done expeditiously. So are there any questions from fellow committee members at this time?
Madam Chair, I do have a couple of quick questions for Mr. Pelton. First being, once this is approved, how soon can this be installed? Of course, school starts August 8th, Monday, August 8th.
One thing that we've already done for this is pre-ordered the mast arms to go with the signal.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're kind of verifying right now exactly when those are going to arrive. So that's going to have some bearing on when the work could start. I think August 8th would be kind of challenging to get it done in that by then, but we're certainly hoping for August or September timeframe.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And again, this is coming out of SPOST funds. I think it was.
That is correct.
So I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Pelton, as well as our chair, Cochran Johnson. We're able to attend a Pleasantdale Park master planning session, and the traffic lights and traffic flow of traffic in general on Pleasantdale Road is a conversation that both the single family residential and the multifamily housing units share a concern over. And so I'm very grateful that this is moving forward. Mr. Pelton and I think, first talked about this probably April or March of last year. And so it's good to see the wheels are turning forward. So thank you very much to staff as well as chair for letting these questions happen. Thank you.
No problem. Happy to move it forward. And Commissioner Terry, I see your hand, so go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is really great. I see in the SPLOST or in the package here, the SPLOST initiation package started September 27th, 2021. You know, a year later, you got a traffic light. The only two things I had to ask was, one, I assume they're the mast arms, and they're gonna just in essence have all the walking, you know, signals embedded in the mast arms. I assume that's the kind of a standard now, right?
I'll defer to the proper party.
You're talking about the PED signals?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, there will be. I think they will be on separate poles, but or they may be on the mast arms too. I'm not sure, but
okay. But it's part of this. Is it part of this project?
It's part of the project. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. And then just for the PWI committee members, and maybe Director Pelton, you have a response on this, but I did ask Ms. Keeter about sort of how we, you know, do the, what's the terminology when you sort of do the traffic study, but it's like a traffic signal study. And there's like a radar system, and there's like the underground wiring. So, and I know there's like, I think she responded, there's like 3 different things you could do. And I wasn't clear if we actually have a policy that we want the radar system, or do we want some other system? So I'm curious what we're doing here.
So right now we think radar detection is the best, and that's what we're doing on this traffic signal here.
Okay, gotcha. So is basically the policy right now is all new traffic signals we'll have the radar system.
That's what we plan to do. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I would just ask Chair Cochran-Johnson if we could, if it's possible, just to, I don't understand the radar system, so I'm just curious. I mean, I'm sure it works great. So I'm just more curious about that system as opposed to others, the efficacy of it. And then it kind of made me think about our traffic study that Commissioner Patrick has been pushing for. And I just wonder how, you know, those systems fit into that traffic study, and maybe unrelated. But I'm just curious how all those things sort of work together.
Well, what we can do,
offline.
Commissioner Terry, is at a future date, I will add to the agenda. Mr. Pelton, if you would begin to prepare a presentation that helps fellow committee members as well as the general public understand traffic warrants and the process, along with general traffic studies in the determination of what type of traffic calming devices can be utilized that would be most appropriate. So if you will communicate with me when you have had the opportunity to prepare such a presentation, if you will let me know a week out, then I will request that it is added to the agenda.
I will do that.
And that being said, though, as it relates to 1756, is there further questions, or is there a motion from the floor?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 1756.
Second.
Okay, have a proper movement and a second for approval. All in favor, show of hands and words, aye.
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect that we have approved item 1756. I'm going to keep on moving. Item 1784 is for a ratification of emergency debris collection service for use by Public Works and Sanitation. Consists of debris collection routes at North Collection Lot awarded to Russell Landscape, in the amount of $1,950,000. Ratification occurs when work has already been undertaken. And we're sort of moving backwards. Let me go to my notes on 1782. This is an emergency contract. Delay in collecting this debris could be a threat to public health and safety. Helps with getting caught up on trash pickup, because we're all receiving those emails as it relates to sanitation, that there has been missed debris collection. The issues is this is due to a shortage of drivers and routes not being completed. Challenge to fill positions, and some employees have left for higher salaries. County is attempting to work on pay scale, and that's good to hear. I don't think there's a single one of us here, Mr. Williams, that would fight this. Ms. Hutchinson, I see that you're also present. And, you know, I know that this weekend, you know, we had our sanitation staff out even on Saturday, on the holiday, on Monday, performing collection. I think it's never been a secret. If you talk to your folk, you know what's going on. A lot of the departmental workers have been recruited right out of sanitation. It's no secret. So it's good to hear that we are finally addressing pay, because one thing I've found, you're going to pay regardless. If we are sending out duplicate trucks, and when I say duplicate, if we're not performing or we're going back, and you know, some people are saying, hey, this can't wait any longer, then we're still spending money, and that's not the wise way to do it. There's also an issue there with when we went to the mandatory minimum wage, individuals who had been in place were not considered, meaning we moved up new hires to the same pay as individuals who had been present for 10 to 15 years. And there was no consideration given. And there's an inherent belief throughout that department in a lack of consideration and respect for those who have performed the job, and whether or not rightfully so, they believe that they bring a higher degree of skill for which they have not been compensated. So if we're going to do this and we're going to do it in order and decent, then we do need to consider those individuals who have given many, many years of service that are now on the same pay scale as individuals who may have only been alongside them for a month or a year in the determination as we're moving forward. So I do see Commissioner Terry's hand. So Commissioner Terry, I'll acknowledge you at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for mentioning that wage sort of disparity, and I think that's an important point to highlight. And yes, I would be very upset if I worked for years and then someone, you know, would make a policy change. You'd think it would affect everybody. So let's come back to that one later. But I wanted to ask kind of like, and I don't want to get in the way of anyone's yard waste being picked up on time. Like, no one's gonna die on that hill. I'd kind of just maybe sort of a couple sort of maybe more prudish comments. Yard service is collected, is it every 2 weeks? What's the current schedule that we sort of advertise?
It is once.
It's weekly, Commissioner?
Okay. So
No.
I just, like here's kind of the paradigm I'm thinking about. If someone expects a service, then they're going to just keep doing the thing that they do, expecting when they cut their limbs and this and that, or schedule the landscaper to come on this day, and that when those limbs get put out, it'll get picked up that week. So I just wonder, in a world where we know we can't provide the service every single week, is it not more prudent to say, listen, everyone, it's going to be every 2 weeks? And so just time your stuff, I'm saying, like once a week that's great. That's fantastic. That means like every homeowner, every property manager can basically just do all their landscaping any day of the week. because they know it's only going to sit out there for most 7 days. But if we communicated, look, for the next 4 months, it's going to be every other week. And that's just how it is. Because I do think that ultimately this contract is undercutting what could actually be, work done by our own paid staff. Maybe only in the context of maybe there's some weeks where there's an overtime shift and our current workers get paid more, the service is done, and maybe we save more money, maybe we don't. But, again, but I don't want to get in the way of everyone, if everyone's already in the mindset, I got to do my landscaping and every week it's service has got to be picked up, then let's just do it. But I want to just be creative here. That's all.
Commissioner Terry, your point is well received. And I think we've all received emails from the community that have offered the solution that you present. Because people like consistency. They have been very understanding in knowing that we face shortages of CDL drivers. The service has been the services aren't being met. And, I would rather us, because this is what we did when it came to sanitation in general. We went from twice a week to 1 day. But we did increase the size of containers. There were certain things that were done. But I would seriously ask, before we move this item forward, if due diligence has not been given to the consideration of making yard waste pickup bi-weekly, that we do it, because it will cut down on the amount of trucks. It will save the county money, but hopefully it will allow us to be consistent in our service delivery to the people. Now, I know personally, at my home, as long as I know when you're coming, I'm fine. I can personalize my tree trimming to whatever you tell me. I just need to be told, and I just expect the service to be rendered as scheduled. So with that said, because Ms. Hutchinson, we want to support you in doing whatever is necessary so that we are meeting whatever timelines we put out there for ourselves. And Mr. Williams, I know that often it's going to come down. I might need to hear from you first with the administration. But again, I want you all to have had the necessary conversation, because it's one of those things where we're going to give you what you say you need. Mm-hmm. But then we're going to expect the service to be delivered and to alleviate the problems that we currently know exist out there. So
thank you, Madam Chair.
Think hard, Mr. Williams. Think hard. I want you to think hard on this.
Right, and here's the thing. Because we have evaluated and talked about whether that should be the approach. I mean, at this point, we were trying to determine what is the best solution. And we made a commitment or at the outset of the pandemic that we were going to do everything possible to continue to provide vital service. And so what we are doing with this item is bringing in assistance to pick up the yard debris so that we can ensure that our folks are getting the trash. That is our primary objective, followed by recycling and yard debris. So we believe that this strategy is going to be the missing link. I believe it's going to provide for 5 routes, which when we've done the math, that seems to be the magic number that we have been challenged to address. So, I mean, we feel confident that between this, as well as purchasing new vehicles that are not reliant on people with CDLs, what we're doing all that we can to kind of manage our position in the market, and recognizing, and I think when someone mentioned staff being hired away, that's absolutely happening. I think someone just read to me an email from MARTA where they're hiring and offering a $3,000 bonus for CDL drivers. So although our staff compared to other sanitation staff are certainly compensated fairly. And what was not mentioned when we talk about the compression and other things over the past 5 years since CEO Thurman has been here, I believe there's been raises virtually every year. There have been, the retention bonuses and the hazard pay. So there may have been some historical challenges, but I think if we look back over the last 5 years, a lot of that has been and continues to be addressed. So where we sit now, Madam Chair, is we feel pretty strongly that this is going to help us get through these challenges. How long will it last? How long will the CDL drivers be in the demand that they're in? We don't know. But the good thing is we were able to augment our resources with these private resources. What we call it is expanding the pond. We've been fishing in a pond that has been out of fish for a while in a number of areas. So what we're looking to do is just bring in other resources to assist us before we look to cut service.
Understood. And I see the hands of both Commissioner Patrick and Terry. And again, we're going to expect the results.
Absolutely.
This is, I'm trying to, for lack of better words, I feel like, I don't know what, I won't say anything more. Commissioner Patrick, you go right ahead. Followed by Commissioner Terry. I believe that was the order of the hands.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When talking with Tracy, just want to get some clarification. DeKalb County actually used to train CDL drivers. Is that correct?
That
We
is
used to be able
correct,
to-
Commissioner Patrick, yes.
And something happened at the state where we're no longer able to do that. Are we working on a process, or where are we in the process of being able to sort of train up our own needs for the future?
So our safety officers need to be state certified to actually do this type of training. And so currently right now, they are not state certified. So we were looking into getting our safety officers certified or bringing in a facilitator that is certified to help us with the training.
What do you need to get there?
It's just checking off the Lex. I mean, Pauline is handling that for me and trying to, determine what requirements that is needed for our safety officers to get certified. So
Gotcha.
once our safety officer is certified, then the program will exist back in-house again.
Okay.
If it seems like if it's going to take an extended period of time, we'll just look at hiring a state certified facilitator, trainer to come to us.
Okay. All right. If you need help, please ask. We will, at least you have one vote that will help you whatever you need to get that done.
Okay.
Again, much appreciated that you guys were out this weekend on the 4th of July in particular, talking with some of the residents. They noted that the sanitation truck was not there and I didn't have an answer. And the best response was, thank you. You guys are doing a great job as well. So I also want to acknowledge that, looking at next door neighbor, there are other communities outside of DeKalb County expressing their frustration with sanitation, but there's also a voice out there that acknowledges, hey, it's a labor shortage. So it's not just DeKalb County staffing. It seems to be industry wide, as you have said several times, reminding me that, and I'm appreciative of that, in fact. But it is an industry wide issue that we're all trying to deal with. So I do appreciate the fact that you guys are moving forward with this contract. And I, for one, will be happy to support this when the time comes.
I also would like to state that I am working very closely with HR. We actually have a hiring event that's going to be this Friday off Beaufort Highway at Plaza Fiesta.
Okay.
If I'm saying it correctly,
Sure.
we're going there. So we're going there to that community. We're going to be recruiting from that community that is close to that north side of town. And we're taking the WorkSource career van, the career center van with us. We're driving it. One of our CDL drivers is going to drive it up there. We're going to be up there from 1 to 5 o'clock. And we're going to have some Spanish interpreters up there helping us. HR is going with us. So we've partnered with HR. We've partnered with WorkSource. So we hoping to have a huge event this Friday at Highway in that community where we actually need that help at. So
Oh,
we're
that's
hoping that we're hoping this is going to open the doors up for various collection lots throughout the county.
Oh,
So just,
fantastic.
just giving the shout out to HR and the work source for working with us. And then on the 15th, we'll be at the North Collection Lot where we're actually going to be, HR is going to be again with us. We're going to have some interpreters with us. We're going to be basically offering a employment offer, a job we're going to offer you a job right there on the spot.
I got to ask, have you talked to St. Vincent de Paul? Have you talked to Latin American Association, CPACs, We Love Buhai? Those are great organizations up and down the Beaufort Highway corridor that would be very interested in helping out.
Yes, yes.
We'll definitely partnership with those folks. I mean, Benita, Director Ransom and her team has just been awesome to work with. We have had numerous Zoom calls and coordinating everything. So we'll take that information from you, Commissioner Patrick. We'll definitely reach out to those folks also. But this is an excellent opportunity for us to go to the community there in that particular area.
Oh,
Right.
fantastic.
And Ms. Ransom may well be working with them. That's back to when I make the statement about expanding the pond.
Mhm.
It's finding, people that heretofore we had not maybe actively enough sought. I mean, we are hiring, and we want everyone to know that we're hiring.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do think we're risking undercutting our own employee workforce if we go in this direction for anything longer than an emergency.
Understood.
Because if the sanitation crews say, oh, well, we can't do the job, so they'll just hire some company that is definitely going to pay a lower rate. They don't pay $15 an hour at Russell Landscape. I don't know what they pay, but it ain't $15 an hour. They probably don't offer benefits. And the only concern is that we are telling people come work for us, but then at some point in the future, if things are emergency, we'll just go with the cheaper option and we'll just continue to, I don't want to say cannibalize, but I mean, it's kind of sort of telling the people that are do this job that they can be replaced very easily.
Right. Well,
a contractor.
Madam Chair, can I address that? Because I want to make it clear that
You certainly can.
yes, because we certainly don't want, and thank you, Commissioner Terry, for raising the issue, but that is not the message that we want to send. And the fact when you have the CEO and the director out serving food, or when we believe that we have established over the past certainly 5 years a relationship with our sanitation employees, and they understand that we care for them personally, and we want to provide them a work environment that is something they can be proud of. The new equipment is part of that, the new trucks and so forth. But at the same time, we have found that we have placed them in a position and working through the pandemic where the mission has gotten too great for the folks who remain. And so we're bringing in assistance, much like we do in stormwater, we do in roads and drainage. We have contracts, emergency on-call contracts for those instances where the jobs are too big or we just can't get to it. We do not anticipate this to be a permanent solution. We anticipate that, at some point, others will not hire away as many of our drivers, or we will continue to expand the non-CDL fleet, or we will train enough. But through a combination of all of these things, we are not going to send the message to our employees that they don't matter and aren't important. And quite frankly, something that everyone may not know, like in times of emergency, which we've gone through with our sanitation and roads and drainage and other troops, you want to have your own resources. You want to have your own folks who can help get stuff out of the street and off the street. And so they're not going anywhere, and we're 100% behind them. And I see this as a short-term solution.
And
Right,
Mr.
then I think we
Williams, I'm sorry, Commissioner Terry, go ahead.
Well, I think the agenda item is $1.9 million. There's no date on it. There's no, when did it start? When does it end?
Oh.
I mean, it literally just
Pretty-
says Russell Landscape is going to have 3 F40 pickup trucks with some people driving around in it. I mean, I think so. If this is a good solution, then the next thing I'd like to see is where's the plan for all of that to be in-house? Because that's how you show our workers that they're not going to be replaced, that this is only going to last for 3 months or 4 months, and that we're going to do a very simple solution, which is just get some F450s and go pick up the yard debris. There's nothing fancy about that. We're just going with an emergency solution. But how long is this emergency going to last?
And to that point, let me also say, this is a ratification. The service has already begun,
Absolutely.
How much longer?
even though this is the first time we're aware of the service. But please, I always, I don't want to say anything that is out of order. I would ask my fellow commissioners that are present, were you aware of the service?
No.
No. So even with what we're doing here, there's a bigger problem. And we have, in my opinion, here in DeKalb, a people problem. We have to always consider the human factor. And the fact remains, when you say the mission is too great for sanitation, it's too great because there's been an exodus of employees who've left for higher paying jobs that were recruited right from under us. And if you go over there and you sit and you have a conversation with them, they'll be very specific as to where they've gone. I don't know anything here that other people don't know. But if you have the conversation, you should be fully aware. So again, I say to you, even with us bringing in, which has already happened, right now we're ratifying it so these folks can be paid for an executive decision that was already made before you came before us. But what are we going to do to address the root cause? And that's the loss of the employees. And that's primarily in large part due to salary. These people, I'm told, are moving around for an additional few dollars per hour. If we would keep the people we have, these people are trained, we would be better off than going out there hiring, in my opinion, temporary services. But we've still not dealt with the fact that when we went to a minimum $15 minimum wage, we carried employees who had walked through the door to the same pay scale of some of our most senior people in that sanitation department. So people feel disrespected. They feel that there was no equity there, nor consideration of their dedication to DeKalb. So just as important to me is the plan for an evaluation there to determine pay scales, because that would go a long way, in my opinion, with our staff, so that we stop losing people.
Sure,
Because
sure.
with hiring these folks to come in and provide a service, that doesn't create a loyalty, that creates a relationship. And it's like putting a bandage on a deep wound, and it doesn't heal the root cause or cure the problem, in my opinion. It's a temporary fix, unless we're going to outsource sanitation.
Right, and we're certainly not discussing or proposing that. And if we look, and the minimum wage was that 4 years ago? Because there's been a series of raises since then. And our primary loss of employees is the CDL drivers. And so those weren't really affected here. And over that same time period, we have increased the salary for the CDL drivers. We've created new specific positions. So,
And again, when you pose the response that you do, even with the series of raises that we've given, and those have primarily been due to and after following the pandemic, for our frontline employees, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah,
We're still starting from the baseline of where we created the discrepancy in pay without any form of consideration for the time served, for lack of better words.
Commissioner?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So I just want to chime in and just state that, I've been here at the county for 18 years. And for 7 to 8 years of that, prior to CEO Thurman coming to office, I want to say 7 to 8 years, there was no raise whatsoever. And sanitation employees, not just sanitation, but the majority of my employees couldn't even afford health insurance. So when that $15 came into play, it changed households, thousands of households here in sanitation, for my employees to even be able to afford medical insurance. So while that $15 was huge for sanitation, it affected households beyond the numbers of just 1 or 2 households. Yes, there was a salary compression that did come into play, but we needed that $14, that $15. And since then, the raises that have come in, these employees have been rewarded quite a bit through the hazard pay, through the retention bonuses. I mean, these employees have received a large, significant amounts of money. Now that base salary is still 15. It was exciting to get to that base salary at the 15 because we were comparable to Amazon and some of these other places that were just coming on board where everybody was just advocating and being a cheerleader for $15 an hour. So, and since that time, these employees are respected every day and have truly been appreciated with doing that health protocol during COVID, when the CEO was giving 50% comp time, 50% more hours if you came to work. These employees received an excess amount of money over the past couple of years. So I just don't want that to go out there thinking that the base, yes, that base salary is $15, but that base salary was very significant for sanitation and a lot of other departments. Watershed could chime in and say the exact same thing. Ms. Allen could say the same thing for roads and drainage, because prior to that, Commissioner, the salary was at $10 an hour. And for many years, we did not get no raise whatsoever. So I just want to put that on the record that I understand the $15 is a minimum wage, but that was a huge, huge benefit to the employees of DeKalb County, especially sanitation. When my employees could come in here and sign up for medical insurance, that was huge.
And let me say to you, Ms. Hutchinson, there's been no minimizing of the $15 and the importance. The issue that I've raised is that there were many people who had decades of service who were only receiving, and you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, a pay of $15, some even less than 15, who were then placed in the same position as individuals who walked through the door. And that has caused some problems for employees there within that department. So I want to be very clear. I support across the board a $15 minimum wage. Even at $15 an hour, if you are working a job that only pays that amount, that's $28,800 a year. I would argue that our sanitation workers probably have one of the most difficult jobs to perform in the county. So I don't get excited because it's comparable to Amazon. The folk at Amazon have in no way do what our workers do. I want, and I believe we all share the goal of having the best paid departments in the state. And I really do believe, and I'm not saying what I believe, I've had conversations. You didn't come in here and tell me this, that we raised salaries to the minimum wage and at that time made no consideration. People do. If you talk to folk and they trust you, they'll be very honest with what the issues are.
For correction, I just want to let you know, Commissioner, that the annual salary for the $15 is $31,200. That's the annual salary is $31,200. So that is the annual salary. So you take the $15 an hour, the annual salary is $31,200. And Commissioner, the salary compression, yes, it did exist for the employees. Yes, yes, ma'am. It did exist for the employees that was long-term veterans. And so, but again, this issue is, I mean, those employees have gotten raises for the past 5 years. But but the salary compression at the beginning, it did exist. Yes, it did. Not just for sanitation, probably for the entire county.
But even with the salary raises, the salary compression that occurred, was it ever accounted for?
Yes, I think it was.
So there was a rubric put in place to compensate based on years of service during the course of the pay raises.
Whenever new employees come on board, there is an internal equity that is done that review based on years of experience, and based on years of experience, when you come on board, the years of experience that you actually have. So all sanitation, not sanitation, but I think all employees are put on a internal equity. And
it moves up your salary if
That's
you have
correct.
more years of experience.
Thank you, Zach.
And Ms. Hutchinson, you're saying with new employees, but you're saying that this is done for all employees.
Yes, Commissioner. So the internal equity is based on job titles. So based on a job title, there's X amount of employees that is assigned to that title. And so the internal equity is reviewed based on years of experience that you actually have. And
so
there is
that
a
the
salary,
employee
there is
will-
a salary range. There's a salary range for all job titles.
So what that's designed to do is the employee with more years experience is not paid the same as a person with no experience or brand new. It moves them up if they come in at, say, $15 an hour, then that should move the employee with several years experience up to $15.50 or something. We're just using to use numbers, but it is accounted for. Additionally, I think it's important to note when we talk about that 31,000, we still need to add in, if we just do the true salary, the pay of probably, I don't know, 20% or whatever that was added in for the frontline pay over the last couple of years. Between 15 and 20%, someone can do the exact math. And the retention bonus. Those things don't show up on the paycheck, but they're very much real, and the board, you have authorized those payments. So, but I still say we're in agreement. I don't want to sound as if I don't believe they need to make more. I believe they do, and we're working on it. And I believe
Absolutely.
Starting with the CDL drivers. I mean, that's one of the things I think we mentioned in the agenda report. We are currently evaluating that across the board. But, I just want to get the whole story out, I guess.
Absolutely.
Understood.
Yes.
And let me also say that last year, when we had the conversation as it related to some deficits associated with sanitation and additional monies that would be needed for operation, we agreed and we voted upon a $10 million loan.
Mhm.
It was later said that the loan probably was not needed, and it came off the books from what I saw for the budget. But I see that, that has been added back. But during that entire conversation, Director Hutchinson brought in a rubric that had actual increases in a variety of different line items that immediately showed the materialization of a $6 million revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And there had been a request that you come back and bring us an outline for the increase in pay. However, we haven't gotten there. Where are we with that request at this time?
Yes, I believe, is Arcadis doing that work? Is it Arcadis?
Arcadis is they're currently working on our revenue analysis. And then once they complete the revenue analysis, they're going to be looking at our rate analysis also. So we got a step 1 and we got a step 2. But we have
much like we did, Commissioner, with watershed, I mean, and I think you're on mute, Commissioner, but we're going through the same process, and we know generally the areas, but we're having the professionals go through and do the rate analysis, and we'll come back with fee recommendations.
Okay.
So they're working on that as we speak.
I'll look forward to it because it's been almost a year now.
Our revenue analysis meeting is this Friday, Zach.
Yep.
Just as an FYI, it is this Friday
So
with Arcadis.
It's moving.
Okay. Thank you for that. And Commissioner Terry, you've been most patient. Go
That's
right
a great
ahead.
conversation. This is good. I know we're going a little long today, but this is important. discussion points. So the Employee Relations Committee will gladly take up this wage compression, minimum wage issue. It is on our work plan. The minimum living wage in Atlanta is $16.92 according to MIT. So if we're not keeping up with inflation, we're in essence cutting people's starting minimum wage every year. So even though it was done 4 years ago, inflation, consumer price index really dictates that the minimum wage in DeKalb for our employees starting out should be $16.91. But I would like to, I think Ms. McGraw is our policy analyst for ERPS, and it is on our work plan. So we'll work with HR to kind of further enlighten everyone on how the salary compression works. If we did do a 16.92 minimum wage increase, pegged it to inflation every year. So in essence, it always goes up if that's called for. Then we would understand sort of the full fiscal impact, because as is being pointed out, there would be some escalations up down the chain. Back to this contract though, because what I heard was we were having trouble finding CDL drivers, but Russell Landscape's not hiring CDL drivers for this contract. They're just hiring whoever's in their crew. So just like we're switching to the recycling trucks that are different, that don't require CDL, why don't we do that for this? We're doing that in-house. Why don't we do this in-house? And so I still didn't get the answer to the question of how long is this contract going to be an emergency? Because if we're talking about keeping this going, then I guess the mid-year budget would have to address this this won't be an emergency anymore. It'll be a par for the course. All northern sanitation yard debris routes will be this new paradigm of F-150s.
Yeah, I think our intent, this is what we've allocated, I believe, for a year, and we were anticipating looking at it in quarter increments. Is that correct, Ms. Hutchinson?
That is correct. So the first PO was issued for 3 months, but
3 months is the answer.
Right.
I guess.
But the first PO was issued for 3 months though, but it could go up to 1 year.
Okay, but see, that's the thing is if everyone acknowledges this is if we should just privatize it. If we should privatize yard collection waste in North DeKalb.
Well, yeah, this is only 5 routes.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I'm operating under 3 pieces of paper here that don't have hardly any details on them. So I don't know what to say. There's 5 routes just in North DeKalb.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
is it
so that's
because
not
the
all
streets
of
are smaller? I mean, I'm just, like.
And we seem to be, Commissioner Terry, if I might, experiencing this countywide, but we are narrowing the scope of service. So I'd like for you to speak to that. And also Commissioner Patrick, I'd love for you to mingle in the fray of the duty that the brave must endure as well. So I'm going to acknowledge you at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I know that there's a lot of looking into future concerns associated with this, but literally this is to fix a need. There is an immediate short-term crunch that is happening right now. It's not just DeKalb County sanitation. Again, as I said, if you look on Next Door Neighbor, you'll hear how surrounding communities are having the same issues with private haulers. This
is for CDL drivers.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Terry.
Commissioner Terry, let's contain ourselves. Commissioner Patrick, go ahead and with your statement.
The issue right now is we need to get the services back up. I don't know how many emails you guys receive every day regarding sanitation. I get a phenomenal amount. Right now, I think it's safe to say the residents want it picked up. We just heard from the chief operating officer that the county is not wanting to step back from its weekly commitments for recycling, for household, or for yard clippings. This is a short-term alternative. I will support whatever it takes to get fully staffed up where we need to be. If that means hiring non-CDL drivers, getting the trucks, I'll support it. When I was talking with City of Chamblee city manager, he's telling me it's about 18 months to order a truck, because there's a backlog in that part of the economy as well. So again, when I hear from my residents, they want to have it fixed. And so I talked with our staff, and I know you guys have received those emails as well. Fix the issue. And that's literally what this approach is from my perspective. Madam Chair, thank you.
You are welcome, Commissioner Terry. Go right ahead.
The shortage, I mean, again, like if there's a shortage of big old garbage trucks, that's an issue. If there's sort of CDL drivers, that's an issue. But this contract has nothing to do with any of that, because literally we're talking about paying Russell Landscaping. We're privatizing this part of of our sanitation service to literally get landscaping crews who have no other training than, I guess they're just landscapers, driving F-450s. We buy how many F-450s in our fleet every year? Let's buy some more. Do we have sanitation workers that can do extra shifts? Do we hire more people that don't do CDL driving and we're paying them more than Russell Landscape? I'm thinking the medium-term solution, because if this is a year-long emergency contract and there's no step in between that says what's the plan for the long term, then are we going to be back here in a year with the exact same response? We just need to keep doing this emergency contract.
Okay, I got you. And if I may, because and Commissioner Terry, I don't want you to believe that that's the case. So I would, even if you wanted to ratify it for 6 months or something, that's up to you, to the committee. The fact is, we're anticipating this to get us through this hump. And our goal is to get the debris up. We're not sending any message that we're contemplating outsourcing or anything like that. That's the furthest thing from our mind. So that is not a message that we're looking to convey. And our thinking, although your question is, can we just buy a bunch of trucks and put our drivers in it? We don't, the labor shortage as well. I mean, we don't have the people.
Right, but we're doing that for the recycling.
Right, because we have enough.
So how's the recycling innovation, which I applaud y'all for? That is an innovative approach. You don't need CDL drivers for the recycling routes. How is that not same approach applied to the yard waste? Is there something special about yard waste?
No, it's a very similar approach.
Commissioner,
It's the amount of people. It's the people, Commissioner.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And so if we say, okay, so like let's say we ratify this for the remainder of the year, and we ask the administration to come back to us with an actual non-privatization plan for 2023 budget. Is that fair?
Well, not only is that fair, but that's our intent. I mean, so yes. That's
all right. Well, it's not saying I don't trust y'all.
And it's completely fair because, right. And I think it's completely fair, even though it's our intent. But I hear what you're saying, Commissioner. You want to see it, and you're concerned. Not that we ever would. I mean, we're going to be people of our word. We're not going to, and we have no intention. Again, I'm going to keep saying we're not outsourcing our sanitation. We're bringing in a cavalry to help them get through. But if you wanted to ratify it through the end of the year, and say that a strategy comes back as part of the budget, that's fine.
And let me say that, I'm very sensitive to what both commissioners are saying, because I'm very engaged. I get the emails, I communicate with you, Commissioner, COO Williams, as well as you, Ms. Hutchinson, literally Director daily. So I'm very aware, and I share Commissioner Patrick's desire to solve the problem. But again, the ratification, which again, the monies, and when did the service actually begin? Because you do a ratification when the money has already been spent. So to be honest, why is it even here if you've already spent it? Just do what you see fit.
Well, right, that's just the process. But I think it started last Monday or Tuesday.
It just completed the first week. With completing 2 routes. This is the second week.
Okay. But again, I hope that during the period of time of whatever ratification, because we all play for the same team, you're able to deal with the greater issue of the loss of personnel and the identification of personnel, if we're to truly solve the issues that we have here. Because if not, then we would need to continue ratifying on an ongoing basis. So I do wish you well, and I sincerely hope this solves the problem. With that being said, understanding, gentlemen, that the service has already begun and what has been brought to us is a ratification for which now we are indebted. We already have an obligation. It's been created because the services have begun to be rendered. And those kind of things is what disturbs me more than the ask, is when you're made aware on the back end, because at some point, somewhere, someone was fully aware that these actions would be taken. And the governing body that has the fiduciary responsibility of the allocation of funds, it weren't made aware, but the conversations were being had. So I will now
one last thing.
go right ahead, Commissioner Terry.
It has been on the employee relations work plan since the beginning of this year to ask the question, why would someone want to work for DeKalb County government? And I'm just curious, if someone comes to a job fair, what is it that we are offering them? All things being equal, what is it that we're offering them? Someone walks up to that table on Beaufort Highway, Plaza Fiesta, and they say, no habla inglés, and we translate for them, if that's the goal we're going here. What is it that we are offering? What is our special sauce? What is our competitive edge? And I posed a question way back in March. Can we just find out from our own employees why they work here? Or what would make them want to stay if they got a better offer, or if there's just something else out there that we don't know? And I keep bringing up this McKinsey report. I sent it to everyone last year. There is a literal delta between what employers, us, think are important to employees and what employees think are important. And I have to believe that DeKalb County, just like every other major corporation, that HR managers have a difference of opinion than what actually people on the market are looking for. And it's not, it is pay, it is benefits, it is work-life balance, but there's a whole host of other things out there. It's hard for me to get to a point in my mind 6 months from now where this contract's not going to be continuing, because we're still going to be in a situation where if our only strategy for filling the shortfall in all of our positions is to have a job fair and offer some bonuses, if that's all we're doing, then we are doing nothing different than anybody else. And so I just think that if we do some scientific research, some survey analysis, we do salary surveys all along. We just need to take that salary survey mindset and just do a little bit more. Then we could actively do job fairs. We could we could go to Russell Landscape Cruise and say, don't you want to come work for us? Because we're going to offer X, Y, and Z more than you.
And let me say this, I don't think we're in a position at 5:43, Commissioner Terry, and I really understand.
I'm working on it.
I really understand, and where we are. And I would, welcome the conversation as to, and I'm sure, because we have seen numbers from, surrounding jurisdictions in terms of pay rates and so forth. Perhaps that is something that we need to explore, but I think it's going to require it being done in a more formal environment where Ms. Hutchinson and COO Williams would have the time to prepare. So I don't want to be unfair with saying at a job fair, what will you say? Often in grant writing, and such, and for business plans, your core differentiator, what is it that separates you from your competition? I'm not sure if this is the time to have the conversation, Commissioner, but I do welcome it.
I would just, if y'all are good with it, I would just say that let's just approve the contract through the end of the year. And if we could ask, I don't know if it's sanitation or HR or something. It's just, what is the long-term?
Right, it's just say the administration, that encompasses all of you, Commissioner.
Yeah. And I know y'all work on it. It's just, got a lot, it's a long list of things. Just got to check them off. So I just want to add that to the list. And I'm saying, I'm going to rake you over the coals for not doing it, but just if we keep it on the list, I think we'll eventually get to it.
So let me, for the sake of clarity, literally the work was begun, it appears on July 1st, would be safe to say. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was early last week, or maybe
Hold on, let me
Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday of last week.
Look on my emails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that would be July, August, September, October, November. So we would say if we're going through the end of the year on the ratification, it would take us until December. And during that period of time, you would come back to us with a more detailed and more comprehensive proposal that is all encompassing, that looks at pay, as well as, in all honesty, I'm not opposed to privatization if that's what works. All I care about is the outcome, not who delivers the service, but the best possible way of ensuring in the most cost-effective way, the delivery of the service. So whatever it looks like, I'm assuming you all will come back to us with that. And Commissioner Terry, what you're proposing is to ratify the agreement for a 6-month period. And of course, that would require a substitute because the dollar amount would be half. But what you're saying, COO Williams, is this money is going to be drawn down as needed.
Yes, ma'am.
It may not all be used, and is what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Commissioner, nothing would make us all happier that, in 3 months, we don't need a second tranche. But yes, that is what I'm saying. So if you did a 6-month, we come back with it, we'll write up the substitute. What is that, 800 and some odd, 825, something like that.
Okay.
I was less concerned about the price. I was more just about
And the time.
continuing a service that we could be doing in-house. So it's more of the
Well,
time period and not the amount.
The beauty is, quite frankly, is it coincides with the budget. So we would come back during next year's budget cycle with any amendments necessary and a strategy.
Okay. Hearing that, I would say that we do have a motion on the floor. I don't know that it per se needs to be restated. I think we understand what has been recommended here. So I would ask, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, show of hands and words.
Aye.
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 Okay, and also for those who provide our notes that are associated with the meetings, please indicate when there is a substitute. So let's show that there is a substitute. Go ahead and write the 50% of the amount that's been requested, as well as the expiration date, because that works better for me in my notes. I want to make sure moving forward, if there's a substitute, that is stated in the agenda package, okay? To Mr. Obang as well as Mr. Manson. Okay, and the next item, I'm only going to take up one additional item. We're going to fall short, but I do understand that we have one item that is of essence, and that's item 1785. And Ms. Horner, will you please verify that?
Shoals Creek item.
Time is of the essence of both 1785 and 1783. They are companion agenda items. We cannot move forward without 1785 without approving 1783.
Okay, and now I'm going to go back to my magic ball and let me go down and see 1783. We're doing a termination for convenience here. And 1785. Now, neither of these items, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I have a lot going on here, but these have not come out of audit, have they not? 17, the hold on,
1785 and
Is not.
1726, yeah, are new items. Because what we're actually doing is on 1783, we're requesting termination for convenience, and then we're requesting a reaward under 1785.
Okay, so let's sound 1783 first. And this is a cancellation of contract, consent decree, design and engineering services for Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Relief Project for use by the Department of Watershed Management, consists of providing design and engineering services for the upsizing of numerous trunk sewers to address 7 repeat sanitary sewer overflow areas in the county. So this is a termination of convenience. I'm also going to go ahead and sound 1785, which is an RFP, request for proposals for consent decree, design and engineering services for Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Relief Project for use by the Department of Watershed Management. We're providing design and engineering services for the upsizing of numerous trunk sewers to address 7 repeat sanitary sewer overflow areas in the county. Recommended award to the highest scoring proposer, which is Atkins North America, not to exceed $5,224,841. And now to my notes for 1785. And this continues to be under audit review. Contract termination for convenience with the first bidder. We're awaiting new contract, but hold on, let me go to 1783 because I want everyone to understand why it's necessary. After reviewing the contract, the county found that company did not meet all contract requirements and was not a responsive bidder. Contractor did not provide breakdown of costs, which was not included in the proposal. So as a result, the contract was terminated, so there would be no litigation. Offer has been made to the second lowest bidder, and that's what 1785 would allow us to do. Is that correct, Ms. Horner?
You said it perfectly.
Okay, just want people to understand what's going on when we are terminating for convenience. In this case, is out of necessity. I won't say where the breakdown occurred. I don't even think that's necessary to go into it, but we have to have the service performed. Now, I would be fine, and I'm going to turn this over to my fellow commissioners because we are a body here, with moving it forward pending audit, because it has not come out of audit, although it is time sensitive, so that there could be a vote because the work is imperative. So at this time, I would ask my fellow commissioners for any questions that they may have concerning this item.
No questions.
Okay, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion from the floor, unless there's any other party, Ms. Horner or anyone else involved who cares to give additional commentary. Okay, seeing none, I would ask if there is a motion.
Madam Chair, just for clarity, we are talking about agenda item 1783 only.
I do believe we would need to vote on them both individually,
okay,
as a matter of record. So let's start there with the termination of contract first. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve 1783.
Second.
Okay, all of those in approval of the termination of 1783, hands and words, aye.
Aye.
We have terminated the contract. Now we'll take up 1785, which I would say we would move along pending audit for a vote in next week's BOC, if it pleases my fellow committee members. If so, is there a motion to that effect, seeing no further commentary on it?
Motion to approve this item pending the audit report.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, show of hands and words.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, at this point, I will transfer over to our next meeting, the remaining items. I would ask Commissioner Terry, because I come after you weekly, to exercise discretion in moving us along at the appointed hour, so that we can get through these items expeditiously. But if
Hey,
there's,
we would have only gotten out by 10 minutes earlier. What are you talking about?
yeah, it can go a long way though sometimes. So that being said, is there any further business to come before us from anyone? Okay, seeing none, I would accept a motion that we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, show of hands and words. Aye. Thank you all for joining us.